Hi, Phil. Hi, Sherry. I also have Ray in the room with us here in the town of Essex. The hour is 4:26, 4 minutes till starting, Mr. Chair. We do have quorum.
Okay, thank you, Rita. When Sherry comes back, maybe we'll get the meeting going. Jim, is Peggy Golden going to be here today?
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'll call the meeting to order and we'll get at our business here today. Is there a conflict of interest from anybody today? No. The next would be the adoption of the minutes. I've just noticed there's a very slight error and it's on page 31 and 33 and it's a minor variance. And it's listed as a B0122. That's actually the consent. The minor variance should be an A0122. Proper identification on it. Very, very minor. It's identified clearly in the agenda with the right designation. So can I have a motion to adopt the agenda for today, please? Moved by Phil. Second by Sherry. Everyone in favor? Thank you. Rita, for some reason, I don't have you and Percy and Ray on the screen. So anyway, I'm sorry. I guess I should have begun by introducing everyone here. And the members here today are Sherry Ducedry and Phil Pocock, Percy Dufour, Ray Beneteau, who's the vice chair, and myself, Brian Gray, as the chairman. Rita Jabour is the manager of planning services, and she's here today because Corinne Chiasson is on vacation and sends her regrets. And unfortunately, Sarah Aubin's not feeling well and is not with us today either. So Rita's going to be filling in on lots and lots of jobs here today. Is there anything under unfinished business? Oh, I'm sorry. The adoption of the minutes for December 21st. Is there any questions from anybody? Have a motion to adopt them, please. Okay, move right. That's better. Okay. Was it moved by Ray, second by Phil? Everybody in favor? Thank you. Is there anything under unfinished business that should be brought up at this point in time? Okay, failing that, we'll move on and we'll ask Rita to speak with regards to the applications.
Just give me a moment here to share my screen. I have a PowerPoint presentation for you all tonight. Okay, there we go. So our one and only application tonight concerns the farm lot at 1168 Gore Road in the former township of Colchester South in Ward 3. You can see it on the screen as both the green and the purplish bluish parcels that all comprise a 62.5 acre farm lot. The zoning designation is agricultural for general agricultural farm uses, and the OP designation is agricultural as well. The applicants here tonight, Mr. Jim Brush, are looking for a severance to accommodate a surplus dwelling lot. The surplus lot will measure 0.98 acres, and it will be occupied by the existing dwelling, the existing access area, and the existing septic system. There is a well that services this dwelling, but it is located on the retained parcel, and the applicants are planning on relocating that well on the surplus dwelling lot as a condition of this consent, which we will get to in just a little bit. The
Excuse
retained
me,
lot.
Rita. I'm not getting that slideshow on my screen. I don't know how anybody else is. All that we have is the cover page. Is that
Can
what's happening?
can anybody else see my PowerPoint?
I am only seeing the cover page as well.
Okay, let me start to share again. Can you see that?
Slide
Yes.
2 of 8. Yep.
Much better.
Uh,
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to flip to the next slide. Can you see Street View?
Yes.
Excellent. So this slide just shows the existing dwelling from a view looking eastward on Gore Road. That's the first picture. Then a view looking straight forward to the lot. Those are the next two pictures on the screen. So you can see the access area, you can see the dwelling, and you can see two accessory structures too, which will be occupied on the surplus dwelling lot. The next slide simply speaks to the consent. So as we noted, it's an application for a surplus dwelling lot, and it's conformance with the provincial policy statement. So the provincial policy statement does allow for surplus dwelling lots when they're considered surplus to a farming operation and it's an existing habitable farm residence and it's rendered surplus as a result of farm consolidation. Mr. Brush does own several farm parcels within the town of Essex. Most notably, there is one parcel just northeast of this property along County Road 20 West, which is 50 acres. He also owns 75 acres at 1125 Gore Road, as well as 139 acres along County Road 50 West. So this parcel is certainly as part of farm consolidation. It's certainly another farm parcel that Mr. Brush has acquired to consolidate with his farming operations. This structure, this dwelling has been deemed habitable. The building department did not have any issue with its structure. There's no outstanding property standard orders against the property itself. It does have adequate services. It has an existing septic system and a well. And as we noted earlier, that well will be relocated onto the surplus dwelling lot. And the sanitary system will have to be inspected by a third-party inspector as a condition of this consent. It does front on a public road. It does have access to a public road, and the retained farm parcel also has access to a public road too. In terms of the zoning bylaw, there is a minor variance that is accompanying this severance application to accommodate reductions in farm lot size for both the severed and the retained lot. I want to also note that there is a variance required for the lot width of the severed lot. So if I flip to the next slide, you'll see that the reductions we're seeking today by way of a minor variance are for a minimum lot area of 61.52 acres for the retained farm parcel and 0.98 acres for the surplus dwelling lot. The reduction for the lot width is 182 feet. So our minimum required lot width for a property in the A11 district is 200 feet. The surplus dwelling lot will be 182 feet. So we are seeking that variance as well. When we evaluate variances, of course, we have the 4 tests that we have to ensure they comply with. One being that the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw are maintained. Surplus dwelling lots, as was mentioned earlier, are permitted in agricultural districts so long as they meet the requirements of being rendered surplus and being a habitable residence. Secondly, the proposed variance must be deemed minor and desirable for the appropriate land use. This variance is directly a result of the severance. It's minor because it doesn't have any impact on the adjacent neighbors. The applicants have proposed a configuration for the surplus dwelling lot, which coincides with the configuration of the neighboring lot. Thirdly, the variances have to be compatible with the character of the neighborhood. lots in the agricultural district vary very much in size and in lot width due to past severance history. So this is compatible with the character of the neighborhood just next door. There is a surplus dwelling lot as well. And lastly, the variance must deal with circumstances particular to the site and the development. This is required. These variances are required directly as a result of the surplus dwelling application. So lastly, we are looking for the following to be added as conditions of consent if the committee chooses to approve this application. First being the submission of a registered reference plan, which identifies the severed lot, submission of signed transfers, submission of confirmation that all taxes have been paid, submission of drainage apportionments, and the next two are particular to this severance. So the installation of a new groundwater well system to the satisfaction of the Ontario Building Code. I should note, though, that groundwater well systems, they are approved by the Ministry of Environment, but the applicant will have to check in with the building department just to confirm. And lastly, the completion of a septic system test report to confirm that the existing septic system meets Part A of the Ontario Building Code. As you'll note later on in the meeting, rules surrounding the timeline for finishing conditions have actually been extended for 2 years. So the applicant will have until February 15th, 2023 to meet all these conditions. We didn't receive any comments of concerns from any of the members of the public that were circulated or any agencies. We did receive a letter from IRCA, the Essex Region Conservation Authority, who had no further comments and no objections to the applications. I want to note at this time, though, that I did receive 2 comments from members of the committee. One being whether a surplus dwelling could be constructed on the retained lot, and the answer to that is no. I'm sorry, a second dwelling unit, and the answer to that is no. It cannot be constructed on the retained lot. And secondly, a question as to whether the house is vacant, and I have confirmed with the applicant that it is. So that completes my presentation, Mr. Chair, and I'll turn it over to you for any further questions and decision.
Thank you, Rita. Jim, would you like to add any comments to Rita's report?
No, I think that covers everything. Unless any of you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Sherry, go ahead, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just have a question for Rita. The date was February of 2023, but then she mentioned 2 years. Should it be 2024?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's correct. It should be 2024.
That's what I was wondering also.
Okay.
And there was no questions from the members of the public, you said, right? Just IRCA, who commented that there was nothing else, and some members of the committee, but nothing from the public?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
Thank you. Phil?
Mr. Chair.
Yes? It's all right.
Mr. Chair, what the heck was the question? Oh, maybe through to you, Rita. Do you know if there's going to be any town water going down the Gore Road? Or Gore Road, however? No, there would never be.
No.
Okay. All right, just
Mr.
sorry.
Yeah, I live on that road, Phil, and there's a limited town line that exists for about 2,000 feet, and that's it. And they've tried to get a petition going before and can never get enough people because of the cost of it. So I doubt very much that it's going to happen.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Percy, you have a question, please? Can't hear you, Percy. No, still can't hear you.
Okay, Rita didn't want me to speak tonight. She had me on mute. So my question was, is the septic system close to the well?
No, the well is about 700 feet away out in the field to the northeast.
So there's no chance of seepage. Okay, thank you.
Rita, I can't see Ray on my picture. I don't know if that's, at one point we could, but
I just have one question, Mr. Chair. You keep
Sure.
saying relocate this well. Do you plan on relocating the same well? I've never heard of that before.
We would be drilling a new well.
yeah. You okay with that, Ray?
Here is answer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jim?
We will be drilling a new well.
You okay with that, Ray? All right, any further questions from anybody? Just want to, it appears that Lori Chadwick, who is the Director of Development Services, has joined us. So welcome to the meeting, Lori. Thank you. All right, I'll look for a motion on consent BO 122 for the severance of the lot. Sherry,
I'll make a recommendation for approval subject to those conditions outlined.
thank you. Seconder,
I'll second it.
thanks, Percy. All in favor? Great, thank you. And on the second item, the minor variance, can I have a motion with regards to that? Go ahead, Sherry, please.
I'll make that recommendation for approval.
Thank you. Seconder for that motion? Phil? All in favor of the motion as presented? Great, passed. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. That's it. Everything's approved.
Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, take care.
Do I leave the meeting now?
Sure, unless you're really bored.
No,
Okay.
thanks very much. Have a good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Next on our agenda was there any correspondence, Rita, with regards to the board here at all?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no correspondences.
Okay. We'll move on to the next item, which is new business, and I understand Rita has a report for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, on April 15th, 2021, the Ontario government introduced Bill 276, which makes amendments to the Planning Act, specifically with respects to controls of the subdivision of land in the province. There were some amendments that affected the business of consent granting authorities, such as yourselves, which I wanted to bring to your attention. One of those amendments, as I noted earlier, was that the time for satisfying conditions is now 2 years, not 1. So this takes a lot of pressure off applicants to get conditions satisfied when there may be delays due to the inability to retain a surveyor, weather conditions that may prevent surveying, or the need to obtain the cooperation of others, including municipal bodies, to facilitate the satisfaction of conditions. So this would apply to even those consent and those consent applications that you dealt with before January 1st, 2022, when these rules came into effect. So if they would lapse after January 1st, 2022, they would still be subject to that 2 years to satisfy all their conditions. I want to note that most people get their conditions done before 1 year, but certainly this is a benefit for some. The next change is with regards to the cancellation of consents. So this is not a typical application that the committee would receive, but it is available for people to use under the Planning Act. So in the past, if a consent was granted, a person has the ability to come back to the committee or to come back to a delegated authority such as myself or the assistant planner and ask for that consent to be canceled. So one of the reasons why some people might want to pursue this is because it may get in the way of other applications such as lot additions. So again, a very rare type of situation, but one that's now possible for people to pursue. Other changes to the Planning Act is with respects to amending applications. So as you heard tonight, there was an additional variance that needed to be added to your decision. The variance respecting the lot width, which was not captured in the public notice. It is now in the Planning Act. It's now clear that consent granting authorities, committees of adjustment can make amendments that night to an application. So say a variance was missed in the initial pre-consultation and the initial public notice, and it was brought up at a public meeting, you can make a decision without having to recirculate the public, so long as you deem it minor enough. Other changes is with regards to who can actually apply for a consent or a minor variance. The Planning Act has changed to stipulate that someone who's entered into an agreement of purchase and sale is an equitable owner and can make that application for consent. So you don't specifically need the authorization of the current owner, so long as we see an agreement of purchase and sale. And let's see, what else is there here? With respects to your business, nothing more. But maybe, a point of interest for committee members. Before, on the death of a joint tenant, properties that were abutting would automatically merge. That is no longer the case. The Planning Act has been amended so that they don't automatically merge, and they don't end up in situations where they cannot split lots. That's all I have to say. I'm open for questions now.
Okay, any questions from anybody on the committee?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, please. Ray?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Rita, the last one you said about, say, the two people that own the property, is there a certain period of time you have to get it switched before, or does it just lay there until you decide to do it? Because at one time they used to snap it right up, eh?
Through you, Mr. Chair, before January 1st, 2022, it was automatic. So on the death of a joint tenant, automatically the property that was owned by the other tenant would merge with the abutting parcel. Now, as of January 1st, 2022, it won't. So as of January 1st.
But that's what I'm saying. They'll just leave it open as long as it's open, or is there a certain period of time you have to take the person that passed away off of it? You know what I'm saying?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't know the specifics of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right, any questions from anybody else? Phil, please go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Rita, for that 2-year thing, is that a 2-year hard date? Like, I can't see somebody not getting their variances and all that stuff done within the year, but say they get down to 2 years and something happens like COVID, and then they need another year. Is that going to be just a handshake deal with the town, or is that going to have to come back to a committee?
So they officially have 2 years from the date of decision as of January 1st, 2022 to get their conditions completed. If they don't complete them within 2 years, then that consent lapses, similar to what would have happened under the old rules regarding the 1 year you had.
Oh, okay, so there's not, like before, it's usually 1 year, and then if something came up, they gave you an extra month or something to get those conditions cleared. It's going to be a hard 2-year date on it now.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, before they never were able, if the consent lapsed after 1 year, it lapsed. They were never able to come back to the committee to grant them more time. The committee doesn't have that authority. But now it's 2 years. So again, if they weren't able to complete those conditions within that time frame, then it would lapse.
Okay, all right, thanks.
All right. Any further questions from anybody? Okay, Rita, could you have someone just put those changes in a bullet point type bulletin and distribute to us for some of us who might want to have that just as a record for reference?
Mr. Chair, I can absolutely do that. I can give you a procedural guide that was released through OCA, which you all should have access to. I'll provide that to the committee members.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. So I guess this is a tremendous way to start. Are there any notices of motion that anybody wants to bring forward? All right.
Motion to
So,
adjourn.
yes, Ray, go ahead, please.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Percy, is this going to be a record? All right. Seconder for that motion? Sherry, all in favor? Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Stay safe.
I got a quick question. Sorry.
Sure.
Is our next meeting going to be in person or are we going to be doing remote again? With the changes of these mandates being dropped. Or provincial trip mandates being dropped.
My understanding is that the mandates being dropped is still conditional on hospital numbers and that type of thing. And March 1st has been proposed, but it's still not submitted at this point in time. I don't know. Does anybody else have any comment?
I think you can come here anytime you want now, can't you, Rita?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Benedetto just noted that, yes, this is a hybrid meeting. So long as we're allowing in-person meetings, you can join us here in the Zoom room and at the town hall as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Rita.
Mr. Chair, this is Lori Chadwick.
Yes, Lori, please go ahead.
Thank you. Just to follow up on that comment, thank you to Rita. We at administration are also going to be discussing this, I believe at town council in the next couple of weeks. And what we're going to do is, I believe, a hybrid model that will not include members of the public coming into committee meetings at this time, but we're going to consider and discuss options for committee members and applicants or delegates. So it's still a work in progress, but we are going to be discussing at town council what that's going to look like. And I believe through our town clerk, it would end up being also for committees of council. So stay tuned. It's a great topic, and we hopefully are moving in a great direction to be able to see everyone face to face.
Thank you, Lori. Okay, any other comments from anyone? Well, that's it. Thank you again. Good night.